Hello, good morning. What time is it? Good morning, everybody. How's it going? I've been up for like 8 hours. I have no idea what time it is. My name is Jack Mitchell. I'm going to be kind of the master of ceremonies today. Thanks so much for NeighborWorks for asking me to be a part of this. I do a morning radio show here in town on KLIN Radio. It's called LNK Today with Jack and Friends. Just started my 16th year of doing that, and so it's great to have an event that's actually in the morning instead of going till 10:30 at night. So I applaud NeighborWorks. This is the first time I've done tons of these. I've never done a brunch event, so this is fantastic. This is the 8th annual Opening Doors Brunch, and I do want to thank a couple of sponsors before we get going here who really just made this event possible, especially U.S. Bank, Westgate Bank. They are today's neighborhood leaders and the primary mortgage partners of NeighborWorks Lincoln, which of course is a big part of what NeighborWorks does. I guess I want to just give you a little bit of intro to myself before we get going because it really ties in to why I'm here. I'm in talk radio, and there's probably some people who hear that and cringe a little bit, and I would understand that. I don't think our industry has done a very good job of uniting communities over the years. And so that's something that I try and do. I'm not perfect at it, but one of the ways that I found when I'm talking about Lincoln is, number one, just to express that I love this city. And that's what you're seeing with so many of these stories here with these people in these neighborhoods. And I was just sitting at our table right now and talking to Joe Shaw from Lux Center for the Arts and Dan Marvin, and we were talking about all these different neighborhoods. And it's such an integral, cool part about this city, and everyone's got the things they're closest to, and we're talking about the restaurants and the characteristics of all these different places. But one of the things that I try and do, I try and force myself to do sometimes, and it's not necessarily hard, but it's think about the people who are in this community who are solving problems that I don't know how I would solve. A lot of times it's occupational. Like, we'll have stories in the news, and every time I'll say something like, man, how do these people who are corrections workers at the prisons, do what they do every day? I'm so glad that we've got people that do it. How do people who are teachers right now do what they do every day? I'm so glad that we've got these people in our community. Police, you can go down the list. All of these things, I always think to myself, thank goodness that we've got people who are here in that community who are doing these things, who are taking on problems head on, and they've got solutions, and they're passionate about their ability to do that. I'm thankful for that in this city, and that goes for organizations too, and I think NeighborWorks is a great example of the same thing from an organizational perspective. Solving a problems, issues that happen in the community, but with a solution, and a solution that is one that you might not think of, the power of home ownership and powerful neighborhoods. And I had a chance to sit down with Wayne, and I was familiar with NeighborWorks, but I don't think I quite totally grasped the vision of NeighborWorks and Wayne and the team here, and exactly why those things can be so important and so vital to, right, not only we got great organizations, of course, that deal with the issues that we've got as a community, but to be there at the forefront and to give people the opportunity to own a home. And I want you guys just to think for a second, if you can. If you're a homeowner, think back to that first house that you ever owned, right? Maybe you're still in it. Maybe it was years ago. For my wife, who's in the room here, and me, it was a tiny house on about between South Street, or about between Van Dorn and Smith Street, kind of over there by Lincoln Southeast. Remember that house? Think of it. Do you remember that day, the first time that you were in the house and it was yours and you signed the papers? You remember, like, that feeling? That place could have been the stinking Taj Mahal for me at that moment, and the neighborhood, and just the energy that came with it. And I think that's probably something that I've taken for granted over the years. I was able to make that purchase. We were able to make that purchase at the time, and but it was enabling to me. It changed the way that I looked at myself, changed the way that I kind of looked at my duty in the community, all of those things. And that's, when I talk about problem solving, it's just such an innovative way to do that. And so NeighborWorks, supply of the houses they're working on, right? That's one of the big parts of it. Another part, of course, is making it possible for people to actually own these homes, going through that process. And then number 3 It is making these neighborhoods really great places and empowering them, and that's what we've got going here to put that together, healthy neighborhoods, homeowners as well. So anyway, I just wanted to give those thoughts. Here's what we've got. By the way, if you see the cards on your table, if you feel so moved to make a donation today, there's a QR code on the back of that. We would love to do that. I'm not putting on the hard sell for anyone today, but if you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. Coming up, we will have Wayne coming up. He's going to provide some insight about the organization that are probably a lot more specific and detailed than what my kind of big view of them was. And we're also going to do the inaugural Spirit of Lincoln Neighborhood Awards. So that's all coming up. But speaking of one of those jobs that is taking on problems, and I wouldn't want to do, but I'm glad we have someone to do here who's doing a good job. I want to bring up the Mayor of Lincoln, Mayor Leary and Gaylor Baird.
Thank you, Jack. And you've got me reminiscing to the days when my husband and I moved into our first home we ever purchased, which is the house we still live in. And I can remember the nights we spent tearing up carpet. That Kid Rock Sheryl Crow duet was playing incessantly on the radio. I might have to blame KLIN for that, I don't know. But to this day, that song takes me back to carpet and nails and all the good things that come with owning your house. And neighborhoods matter. You're absolutely right. I think neighborhoods call us to leadership. And my path to this moment really came about from living in the near South because another neighbor, John Carlson, sitting over at that table, got my husband and I involved in the Near South Neighborhood Association. And one thing led to another because our neighborhoods call us to be leaders. They call us to service. And that's when I look in this room, I see leaders, servant leaders. So it's really a delight to be here today, to be a part of this program. And I want to honor my colleagues who are here. I see that many members of the City Council are here. I see Councilwoman Tammy Ward on the board of NeighborWorks. I see Sandra Washington, if you all could just wave. I see Jane Raybold over there. And is there anyone else from the City Council? Oh, Tom Beckius. Hey, how are you? And Commissioner Krista Yoakum is here from the County Board. Thank you for what you do for neighborhoods. Thank you for inviting me to join you for this incredible opening doors brunch and to celebrate NeighborWorks Lincoln and to honor the recipients of the inaugural Spirit of Lincoln Neighborhood Awards. And this brunch is an added bonus. Today we're gathered to recognize 35 years of NeighborWorks' mission to empower resident leadership, support homeownership, and develop housing options for our economically diverse residents. We come together to celebrate NeighborWorks' efforts to revitalize neighborhoods and to provide homebuyers with assistance in ensuring that every resident has an opportunity to achieve their housing goals. And we come together to support community goals like high-quality, affordable housing, knowing that maintaining and increasing the existing supply of safe, quality, affordable housing is central to our neighbors' and community's well-being. And thank you for making this our community's shared priority. Early in my administration, the city's incredible urban development department, and I see folks from that department here today, Dan Marvin and Wynn Hurmstadt among them, they and other residents and a variety of private and nonprofit organizations and stakeholders, including NeighborWorks, of course, including NeighborWorks. They came together to produce an affordable housing coordinated action plan. And that plan has an ambitious goal. It recognizes the need to create more affordable housing in our community and is set a goal of creating 5,000 new or rehabilitated units by the year 2030. And that is specifically focused on residents who have incomes 80% of area median income. And to achieve this ambitious goal, we call for the collaboration and the innovation of individuals and organizations from every sector. And NeighborWorks continues to answer that call. NeighborWorks has been a trusted city partner since the organization was founded in 1986, and they are stepping up again and again to help meet our challenges. And over the last decade, NeighborWorks has facilitated nearly 900 housing purchases and 400 housing rehabilitations, accounting for a total investment of $136 million into Lincoln's housing market. That is an amazing investment, and it not only benefits our residents with their housing needs, it helps our local economy and contributes to our prosperity. And the city is employing a number of strategies to promote affordable housing as well. In addition to creating affordable units in new developments throughout our community, maintaining and improving the quality of existing housing stock is a key strategy in our affordable housing plan, and to make sure that all our residents are benefiting from our efforts. And that's why the city's urban development department and our health department have teamed up. They secured a $3.4 million HUD grant to help remediate lead paint in older homes in our community. And those hazards will be mitigated thanks to their team effort. And by improving that existing housing stock, we take some of the pressure off the housing market and increase the availability of quality housing for our community. The City of Lincoln looks forward to continuing to work side by side with NeighborWorks in the years and decades to come to ensure that every family lives in a home and a community where they have opportunities to thrive. And I want to thank Wayne and the entire team at NeighborWorks and the board of directors for their commitment to helping to achieve that vision. You are vital partners. The work you do is incredibly important, and it is truly an honor to be here to celebrate with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to reiterate my thanks to her and all of the electeds that are here this morning and our sponsors. Almost without exception, the sponsors of today's event are also organizational partners. And so in addition to making today happen, they make our work happen every week. And so just take a look at the back page of the newspaper on your seats and thank them, those sponsors, if you can. My only regret is that we didn't find a mimosa sponsor for this morning's brunch. You look great today. I am put to shame here. This is a beautiful crowd. I can't tell you how much it means to be in person with you today, to be here in community with all of you. Lincoln is a big, small town. I heard that phrase and observation a dozen or more times when I was interviewing and talking to all of you, actually, as I was reintroducing myself to Lincoln last summer, our first summer in the morass that we've been in. I wasn't unfamiliar with the phrase. In fact, I'd even developed my own part of it when I was an undergrad. When my college friends would ask about Lincoln, I'd say, it's such a great college town, it doesn't even need the students. And I think that's true, because if you look at things like Jazz in June, or venues like the Playhouse, we talk about the people power the Sunken Gardens takes every year, or the gate at the Salt Dogs games. Those are examples of a smaller community that supports prolific amenities that you wouldn't typically expect in a community like Lincoln. But this time when I was talking to those individuals, there was a different tenor in the conversation. It wasn't kind of rooted in our famous Midwestern aw shucks kind of ethos. It was really an acknowledgement. It was a sense of pride about what Lincoln had been able to achieve in the last 20 years, despite its big, small status. This wasn't lost on either Jill or myself. Just say hi to my wife there real quick. In fact, it was the community progress, the Haymarket, the Antelope Valley, great housing developments that I would later learn were NeighborWorks driven, resurgent cultural organizations that we saw and even participated in on our trips back to Lincoln from DC, St. Louis, and Cleveland. They left us intrigued about what Lincoln was becoming as a city. These wins are attributable to leadership from all over Lincoln's sectors coming together to work on behalf of the community. And there's one organization in Lincoln that's almost exclusively dedicated to that ideal. And I want to thank Brendan Evans and Leadership Lincoln who are here this morning for that. In Jill and I's talks about whether to return the NeighborWorks Lincoln recruiter's phone call, the big small dyad took a different tone. That discussion revolved around whether Lincoln was small enough to come together, to develop the will to solve complex issues like housing, to plant a flag in the ground around our collective ideals of inclusion and fairness, and to prioritize the we over me. And then we talked about if it was big enough to achieve those things, if it could marshal the resources and command the political change, and develop the capacity necessary to solve challenges that it was really seeing for the first time as a community. Challenges that have flummoxed other communities, both bigger and smaller than Lincoln. Put simply, was Lincoln small enough to decide what to do and big enough to do it? Well, we boomeranged our family from Ohio during a global pandemic on the bet that Lincoln is exactly that place, or at least can be. If we're going to get ahead of our projected housing deficit, which the mayor just mentioned, and thanks to the city, we now understand by the year 2030, we will be 17,123 housing units short. We will need to leverage every bit of that big-small dynamic. To give you a better sense of that challenge, NeighborWorks Lincoln currently facilitates about 90 home purchases every year. That's pretty good. Good enough for NeighborWorks to be the leader of for-sale housing, affordable homes in this big, small town. But if this mailbox represents our annual output, this is what it would take for the organization to erase the deficit we just talked about. 192 years. We would effectively solve our 2030 deficit by the year 2213. No need to thank us. If we were to maintain our focus exclusively on for-sale homes, where our current bread and butter is, we would accomplish that in just 61 years, the year 2082. And if we as a community reverse engineered a solution that we said 2030 we were going to solve this issue, it would only take about 20 more NeighborWorks Lincolns in operation to accomplish that goal by 2030. The point here is not that we can't do it or that we need to adjust our expectations. The point is that we need to adjust our collective approach as a community to this issue. We, the royal we, the affordable housing developers and stakeholders in the room, I want to point out our friends that are here, Chris Lamberty with the Housing Authority, Jake Hoppy with Hoppy Homes, Josh Hanshaw with Habitat for Humanity, Julia and Steve with Nebraska Housing Resources. They are our partners in this, and I really appreciate you being here because this is not a competitive thing, this is a team thing. For our part, the board and staff of NeighborWorks Lincoln is rethinking every aspect of our business and delivery models in order to increase not just the supply, but also the retention and promotion of affordable housing across the city. It is clear that we will need to scale our new construction and renovation efforts. There's no question about that. And to accomplish that, we've been working with our partners over the last year, specifically our lenders, U.S. Bank, front and center over here, and First National Bank, right back there, to double our available lines of credit that the organization has access to. We've also been working with Nick and Amy, who are back there in the corner, at the state's Department of Economic Development to secure a $2 million workforce housing loan fund for middle-income housing. Together, those efforts will provide NeighborWorks with nearly $4 million in low-interest working capital to boost our annual production. By the way, has anyone else here ever wanted to publicly thank their debtors? Community development is a weird business, guys. But again, we won't be able to just build our way out of the deficit either. Indeed, we will also need to rethink our approach. We will likely need to start building smaller homes with shorter tenures and more specific incentives that better leverage the land that we have to create a virtuous cycle that not only meets the current need, but also reduces future demand. To pull that off, we'll need to expand our range of housing typologies and create tools like a citywide land trust to sustain that approach. The revised strategy will meet the specific needs of low and middle income families at a moment in their lives when stable housing is often the difference and a key to their success. These homes will still be beautiful, dignified structures that anybody in this room would be proud to call home. But with the help of tools like rapidly forgiven down payment assistance and a citywide land trust, They will each create a home for multiple families that are income qualifying over several years, instead of just one home, one family. I want to thank all of our electeds that are here today. I especially want to thank Councilwoman Ward for being on the board and for starring in our video. She did such a great job. She puts in the real time, and so an imaginary mimosa toast to you, Tammy. We look forward to working collectively with each of our elected officials to innovate the municipal procedures and policy solutions capable of deflecting that demand curve and putting wind in the sails of housing production. That does not obfuscate the community as a whole. Collectively, as a community, we can decide to fund housing differently or to leverage the strength of our market, which is one of our biggest assets, to generate affordable housing in the normal course of market rate development activities. Meanwhile, back at NeighborWorks, the homeownership program will continue to educate and counsel hundreds of Lincoln families every year, preparing them to achieve their dream of homeownership. To better serve the community, we are recruiting instructors that can teach the course in both Spanish and Karen. Those are the native languages of two of Lincoln's largest immigrant communities. It's easy sometimes, when you're not steeped in this work, to forget how international our community is. And diagrams like this help me figure it out, because this is a map that shows the country of origin for all of Lincoln's foreign-born residents. And it's not just one or two places, right? This is a community, this is a melting pot in an otherwise homogeneous place. And we are a special place that can figure out these solutions in a special way. The diagram does a great job, but we will also be exploring things that we can do as on the instruction side to offer general financial training to Lincolnites at all stages of the housing spectrum. Figuring out how we can be of service to everybody that isn't just a homeowner. Our community building portfolio is also going through some transition. As you probably know, in July, a living legend retired, and we will celebrate Pat later, but the search for her successor has already begun. And so will a pivot that likely brings NeighborWorks Lincoln more deeply into certain parts of Lincoln, because we realize, learning from what Pat has taught us, we will approach our community building work with the clear understanding that real estate development is just a piece of the puzzle that we need to do. It's just one part of the intervention necessary to meet our moment to facilitate equitable and inclusive neighborhoods. This is especially critical in Lincoln, where place-based inequity is so pronounced. Thanks to work done by Lincoln's Community Health Endowment, hey Morgan, we understand that a child born in the North Bottoms has a life expectancy of nearly 20 years less than a peer born near Holmes Lake. I hope we never stop cringing when we hear that statistic. There's another retiring legend in the room that understands these dynamics from a child development perspective, and I want to recognize her tonight as well. I want to recognize Barb Bartle for her many years of service to the community through both the Educational and Lincoln Community Foundations. Barb, thank you for your leadership. The symptoms, though, in these first two maps can be traced back to larger structural issues with racial segregation and neighborhood disinvestment through redlining, as represented in the diagram on the right. And thanks to contemporary scholarship on redlining and racial bias in our laws, our lending policies, and our settlement patterns, we know more now about the causes of structural inequality than we ever have. Fortunately, there is no threshold that we as a community have crossed that we cannot fix today. How we use the information to effectuate change going forward is going to be entirely up to us and to the residents, past, present, and future, of those communities. NeighborWorks Lincoln is committed to this entire work plan, but as I think you've heard me say a couple times now, not all of it is within our control. If it were, this board and this staff, trust me, would have solved this yesterday. As I wrap up here, I wanted to pay tribute to both of those groups that I just mentioned. A staff of just 9 souls is responsible for effectuating all of the work this organization currently does. Marty Lee, Danny Harkins, Bill Porn, Charlie Wesche, Toot Kylech, Rachel Cermick, Melanie Thompson, Crystal Seabrent, and Shannon Doman are the beating heart of NeighborWorks Lincoln, and I would appreciate a round of applause for them. would also like the 19 members of the NeighborWorks Lincoln board to stand at this point. These leaders get paid only slightly less than the staff, but that's okay because the hours are terrible. But that is kind of their fault, as they frequently make things more difficult on themselves by choosing the path less traveled. They do this because they want the organization to do big and important things so that Lincoln can achieve big and important milestones. And I couldn't be more excited to serve at their pleasure. Thanks to the board. Come on up. Where's Wynn? Come on up, Wynn. One board member in particular has gone above and beyond. She rolled off our board in September after 6 years of incredible service, the last 3 as vice president. I'd share a passage from the board's resolution of appreciation. Whereas Wynn Yermstead has been a fierce proponent for affordable housing and equitable neighborhoods and a skilled implementation partner that has helped the organization better serve our clients while meeting the myriad needs of Lincoln neighborhoods, therefore, be it resolved that the NeighborWorks Lincoln Board of Directors formally acknowledges and extends its profound appreciation to Wynn Yermstead for her service to the organization and its mission, adopted unanimously 7th of September, 2021. Please thank Wynn for her time. This is a crowd that actually knows what these groups are doing behind the scenes and beyond this kind of palabrum. As with any ambitious endeavor, there will be fits and starts in solving Lincoln's housing deficit. But there will also be success, particularly for those that are most vulnerable in our current market. We know that affordable housing can stabilize families, improve school attendance, reduce job absenteeism, allow for saving, and foster better health outcomes. This is why we do what we do. Solving systemic challenges is hard. The word systemic is literally in the name. But this community is ready. And when Lincoln comes together to solve its generational challenges, it will be a model for how communities of all sizes can succeed. And what a big, small legacy that will be. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for all that you do for NeighborWorks Lincoln.
You hear from Wayne, you hear about those board members, and I think you maybe know a little bit about what I mean when I say I'm glad that we've got people in the community who are willing to find solutions, to work towards solutions, and say things like, and believe things like there's no threshold we've crossed that we can't fix, which Wayne said. I just want to thank, and again, the other thing about this is to have sponsors that make things like this possible as well, and I'm glad we've got those as well. Neighborhood partner sponsors, First National Bank of Omaha, Nebraska Realty, Pinnacle Bank, and Kent Seacrest. Let's give them a round of applause. So now this is interesting. As I was sitting down and talking to Wayne and Rachel about doing this, I've done award ceremonies for a lot of organizations. It's usually something that they go back like long in their history, and they've got a huge past. So NeighborWorks has been around 35 years, but this is the first time, right, that you've done these awards. So apparently they were too busy doing all the things that are revitalizing neighborhoods and helping with home ownership. So it sounds like this is going to become a thing now, which is really cool, and we're going to get into that. NeighborWorks believes well-functioning neighborhoods are critical to family stability, which is critical to the health of the city. It's about the entire health of the city. And by the way, just an aside here, I saw that big satellite map picture of Lincoln. It reminds me that maybe you guys, as we're thinking about neighborhoods, you guys can all help me a little bit. I've been in radio for 15 years, and I still can't, and I've lived in Lincoln for 40 years almost, but I still sometimes can't figure out how to quickly reference parts of the city. And it's getting harder every day. Like, for instance, is 48th and Old Cheney Southwest Lincoln? I don't know. is 27th and O. Downtown is 56th and Vine, Northeast Lincoln. Heck, is Lincoln Southeast High School in Southeast Lincoln? I don't know. So if any of you have spare time or you can't sleep some night, draw out or print an entire map of Lincoln and give me all of the different areas and what we should call them, because when there's a car accident at 56 and Vine, I need to be able to reference it quickly and let people know what I'm talking about. Which, by the way, the other thing I always do, if you ever listen on the radio, I say 7:33, it's 45 degrees in Midtown Lincoln. Someone said to me once, Jack, you're the only person I've ever heard reference Midtown Lincoln. And I got to thinking, I was like, is that even a thing? Did I make that up? I've never said that before. So I don't know. Let me know if Midtown Lincoln is a thing and where that is at as well. But, like, seriously, where does it go? Like Vine to A, maybe 27th to 70th, and then I start thinking about it. And anyway, let's get to the inaugural Spirit of Lincoln Awards. They'll allow us to provide long overdue recognition for the unsung champions of our community, these people that we are thankful that we have here. Now, award categories are going to focus on both individual and group contributions that have worked to strengthen and build community for so many here in Lincoln. And as you might imagine, with the long delay after 35 years with the awards, there is some overdue recognition this year. But starting next year, as I said, NeighborWorks Lincolns will accept nominations from the public, and this is going to become a thing. The Spirit of Lincoln Awards will be decided by a jury of neighborhood leaders. Like the community work NeighborWorks does, this award program will be of, by, and for the neighborhood. So this is just the kickoff. This is chapter 1. So let's get going with those.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Shaw. I'm the Executive Director of the Lux Center for the Arts. And I want to first off say how honored I was to be president while Wynn was vice president. We had a tumultuous 3 years, and I wouldn't have wanted to have anyone else by my side. So thank you for your service. My partner and Ryan and I are NeighborWorks Lincoln homeowners, and I serve on the board, where I have just concluded a 3-year run as the board president. That earned me the opportunity to present the first ever Spirit of Lincoln Neighborhood Award, and I'm very excited about that. The Advancing Affording Housing Award recognizes an individual, group, or institutional commitment to promoting, advancing, or advocating for affordable housing. As our region wrestles with the challenge of a deep housing shortage and a crazy real estate market, this work has never been more important. It is fitting that this first award be presented to an advocate for affordable housing that has been a partner of NeighborWorks Lincoln from the very beginning. Since 1986, U.S. Bank has been a first mortgage partner of NeighborWorks Lincoln, literally writing the rules of a mortgage product that has facilitated stable homeownership for thousands of low and moderate income Lincoln families in the past 35 years. U.S. Bank places its trust in the NeighborWorks Lincoln financial counselors to identify first-time buyers that are ready for homeownership, and that trust has borne out to the tune of 0.6 default rate from NeighborWorks Lincoln clients. For their part, U.S. Bank has created a portfolio loan that provides up to 97% of the home's value with no burdensome down payment and no principal mortgage insurance. They service the loans locally and even maintain a small fund to cover gaps for clients that are surprised during the closing process. Beyond lending, the organization is a frequent participant on our board and in discussions about Lincoln's housing needs. U.S. Bank's partnership and commitment to providing affordable first mortgage loans is a key element of what makes NeighborWorks Lincoln's home ownership program so successful. Please join me in celebrating our first ever Advancing Affordable Housing honoree, U.S. Bank. Please join me in welcoming Bob Balfany and Susan Grieger.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Ulan, and I have worked in the community development space in Lincoln for many years. Most recently as the executive director of the Downtown Lincoln Association, and before that as a director of NeighborWorks Lincoln, and recently I did an encore for a few months as interim director while we were waiting for Wayne to come to town. Today, I have the very special honor of presenting our next award to an individual who has been a colleague of mine for much of my neighborhood work. The Strengthening Neighborhoods Individual Award recognizes a leader whose involvement has had positive outcomes in the neighborhood level. Individuals may be recognized for one or many accomplishments. The inaugural award of the Strengthening Neighborhoods Individual Award is Lorna Parks, whom I invite to join me in front of the room. She's going to read my notes and make sure I say everything I'm supposed to, or not, maybe not too much. Lorna has served myriad roles in the community. Professionally, she has leveraged her financial expertise to advance the Downtown Lincoln Association and the many leaders and stakeholders in the business improvement districts. She is also no stranger to board service and has been the past board chair of NeighborWorks Lincoln and currently serves as a member of the Finance Committee. One of the themes that Wayne alluded to, that this award alludes to, is the leadership, the resident leadership in Lincoln. NeighborWorks Lincoln is very important, and it's baked into the very DNA of the organization. At the neighborhood level, Lorna has undertaken work we would most like to highlight for this award. She is the epitome of the servant leader who cares deeply about her neighborhood and community. She is a tireless advocate for the Clinton neighborhood and a leading volunteer. So much so that as board chair of Clinton a few years ago, Lorna was navigating the pandemic to help revitalize and reinvigorate the Clinton Neighborhood Association, which is no mean achievement during the pandemic. With her unique combination of inclusive and no-nonsense leadership, you like the no-nonsense part, right? Lorna exemplifies the type of neighborhood leaders it takes to keep Lincoln's neighborhood strong. Please join me in celebrating the first ever winner of the award for my friend Lorna Parks. You want us down here?
I am honored to accept this award. I became president of the Clinton Neighborhood Organization in January of 2020, just as things in the world was about to change and I had to get creative. So when I was contacted about this award, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't realize anyone was watching. So in saying that, I'd like to thank the Clinton Neighborhood Board and its members for their support, because after all, you're only as effective as the folks working with you. And thank you, NeighborWorks, for this award.
Bring this down. Just can you hear me? I guess when we started, it was good morning. I can say now it's good afternoon. And as I was looking at my notes here, I noticed it said limit 3 minutes. Wayne, is there something you're trying to tell me? Or all right. My name is Michael Thompson. I'm at Limitless Male Medical Clinic here in Lincoln, and also proud to be the secretary of the NeighborWorks Lincoln Board of Directors, and also proud to be a board member of this year's Strengthening Neighborhoods Group honoree. This award recognizes a formal group of grassroots movement that has strengthened a neighborhood and/or neighborhoods. I am honored to celebrate the Malone Center today in recognition of the center's role as an advocate and comprehensive service provider to a critical segment of the Lincoln community, and I invite John Goodwin and Christiana Vermeline to join us in the front of the room. Now you know why I'm here. In our lives, we interact with a variety of spaces. Our first space is our home, our second place is usually work or school, and our third spaces are those places in a community where our hearts can be at peace. The community center that Malone oversees has become one of Lincoln's most successful third spaces for at-risk youth from the formerly redlined and intentionally disenfranchised Malone neighborhood. We are only now beginning to collectively understand the ripple effects of policies like those enacted on that neighborhood. But the staff and leadership at the Malone Center have been anchored in place since 1955 to not only prevent the worst of it, but to truly highlight the best. Malone boasts a successful portfolio of innovative social supports, youth programming, and celebrations like Juneteenth, which I've had the privilege to be a part of the last 16 years, that simultaneously serve neighborhood residents and provide a place of support for the broader African American community. With further ado, please join me in celebrating the work of this critical organization. Thank you. Okay, he's about to speak. I didn't know that. So if you ever played on any sports team, you may get a flashback of when that coach is trying to pump you up to get you ready for a game.
I didn't really prepare for that. First off, thank you so much, NeighborWorks, for this award. This means so much. Now I know the feeling of winning a Golden Globe Award. This is a great feeling. And the word Malone and strengthening community is huge. And I'm glad to be a part of bringing that back to this community and that spirit into this community. One thing I will say is that our vision is simple, is to create unity and prosperity throughout Lincoln while honoring our African American heritage. And the mission is to eliminate multi-generational poverty in Lincoln. And with our programs, we're doing just that. We believe that if we can create different experiences for our youth and for our families, they will begin to think differently, behave differently, and have more successful outcomes. That's what we're doing. That's what we're going to continue to do. And I just want to thank our board. Thank you again. Thank all of the Malone staff. We could not do this without you, and all of our funders and everyone else that's involved with the Malone. Thank you.
Everyone's much taller than I am. I'm so glad to see everybody here, all the community partners. My name's Stephanie Mateka. I'm an insurance agent at Advantage Insurance Agency here in Lincoln. I've just begun my 5th year on service on the board, and this year I get to serve as president. I serve on this board because I've seen firsthand the high-quality community organizing that NeighborWorks Lincoln has accomplished. In my own neighborhood, I've seen several new builds. I've long appreciated the care that's put into making sure that the homes match the streets and the communities that they're a part of. I have friends and clients who've completed the homebuyer classes and benefited from the down payment assistance program. In most cases, that was the essential ingredient that made home buying possible for them and their families. I'm honored to help celebrate the inaugural recipient of NeighborWorks Lincoln Community Partner Award. This award recognizes a formal NeighborWorks Lincoln partner that has helped the organization fulfill the mission and service to Lincoln. None of the other awards conferred today require a connection to NeighborWorks Lincoln except for this one. And in its first year, we couldn't think of anyone else more important to recognize than the City of Lincoln Urban Development Department. I'd like to ask the staff to join us down here in the front. Urban Development has been a key partner and funder of NeighborWorks Lincoln, entrusting us with the administration of its transformative homeownership program. Leadership and department staff consistently innovate solutions to solve Lincoln's most intractable community and housing challenges. No group has done more to elevate the importance of affordable housing in this region.
With their affordable housing and coordinated action plan dropped last February, it galvanized an entire industry around a common vision and goal. The plan itself was considered for its own award, but that would not have been sufficient. The Urban Development Department staff serve as key thought leaders and implementation partners for citywide impact and have been trusted strategic partners that have helped NeighborWorks Lincoln improve its own work. This award is long, long overdue. It's recognition of the continued efforts of all urban development staff, both present and past, who've been instrumental in supporting NeighborWorks Lincoln and its mission to stabilize neighborhoods and promote affordable, attainable homeownership. Please join me in celebrating this incredible team of people, public servants under the current leadership of Dan Marvin.
I want to take my 30 seconds to just, first time I was introduced as director, we were in conference room 207, which had all the employees that work for urban development in that room, and Mayor was there, and Mayor said, I want to, what was it that she said? Now, that she said, this is urban development, it's the small but mighty department. And we are a small department, maybe slightly larger than NeighborWorks, but not much. And we're mighty because of the partnerships that we're willing to collaborate with. And I look at a lot of the different people in this room. Not only do we collaborate with NeighborWorks, which is a great partner, but some of the other affordable housing developers in this room we collaborate with. It's a culture of trying to reach out and try to solve problems and work together with people. That's what makes us mighty, and I'm really proud to be able to work with that department. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Greg Baker. I'm one of the board members for NeighborWorks. I'm in my 5th year also. It is a privilege and an honor to give the first annual Lifetime Service Award to an individual that most of you have either met, or if you have not, you have certainly heard of. By Lifetime Service Award, I mean lifetime. I'm going to go off script a little bit here because everything we've talked about with NeighborWorks, this person has encompassed. That's whether we're working with businesses, neighbors, nonprofits, the city, you name it. Pat Anderson Fuentes, who I'd love to have you come up and be recognized, has been that. I joined NeighborWorks because I feel home ownership and community development is the most sustainable way to alleviate poverty in the long haul. Not a short-term solution, a long-term solution. Having a home makes all the difference in the world, and I think we can attest to that, thinking back to our first home. This award recognizes a cumulative contribution in either a professional or volunteer capacity by an individual that has shown sustained commitment to neighborhood stabilization, community development, advocacy, or housing access and neighborhood inclusion. I met Pat when my wife and I bought a fixer-upper in the Everett Neighborhood Association. We were working in the yard, and who strolls by? Pat. That's the reason I'm standing up here. It's the reason I'm involved as president of Everett Neighborhood Association. It's the reason why I've gotten involved in my Lincoln community that I love so much too. So Pat, after literally decades of service, we just want to pass this award to you. And I'd like to have you all give her a hearty applause for all she's done.
Okay, you make me feel like I always hate to stand behind the podium because Stephanie thought she was short. I can tell her short. Thank you very much, but you do make me feel like I've earned every gray hair on my head. But you don't do it alone, and it's been a work of love and passion that some people probably wish I would have left some of the passion behind a little bit, but it's there. What can I say? I love my neighborhood. I love Lincoln, and I always want to see it be a better place to live. And I think that comes with all of us. So before I get off track, I'm going to stick to my script. Along my path, I have been joined by so many others, and I want to acknowledge some of those people. Sarah and Rich Torin for helping. We all organized Everett Neighborhood 35 years ago, and it was in order to keep the Everett School open, which they are still open today, and they were in threat of being closed. My early mentors, Colleen Singh and Tim Francis. My Everett cohorts, Julie Thomas, Greg and Paula Baker, Lori Weber, and numerous other board members over the years. F Street, I spent many, many years on the F Street rehab and rebuild of the old center. And Lori Yoakum and Ed Zimmer were great supporters of that. That was a 10-year process. So you don't just get into community development and things happen. The cogs of government work slowly. And had it not been for Lynn Johnson taking over as director of Parks and Rec at the time that he did, I'm not sure that F Street Community Center would have ever been rebuilt, because it was a hard push. And then there were the 11th Street business improvements and later bike paths and bioswales, and I'm looking at you, Wynn. And much thanks to, again, Lori Yoakum. You hear a theme here that these projects take years and years. But Wynn has been a champion of neighborhoods in pushing through projects and finding funding, scrabbling for funding. And just when you think you're done with it and the project didn't quite get all done because there's never enough money, years later you find out Wynn's been hoarding money away from leftovers, and you can, as with the lighting project on 11th Street, you can get a project completed. Not easily, and many, many thanks, Wynn. You are our champion. But citywide also, it's been my pleasure to work with residents across the city and with city staff. I love Lincoln because elected officials and city departments, I believe, work so well together. Residents have a voice, and the city hears it, and I don't think that happens everywhere, and I think we have a special city that we can work together like that. There are so many people in neighborhoods that are constantly, as you saw in some of the pictures, involved with neighborhood cleanups, plant sales, and they put in so many hours. Plant sales, garden tours, historic walking tours, park improvements, block parties. And by the way, if you're planning a block party, NeighborWorks just happens to have a very fun party trailer, and you can contact Tut, to use that party trailer, and it's equipped with everything. And residents are also involved with planning committees, city departments to improve streets, parks, infrastructure, transportation, and the list goes on and on. Working together with NeighborWorks, other neighborhoods, elected officials, and city staff work to solve problems, plan, and pass new city ordinances that are much needed. Those giving time to work on numerous city planning committees so that we may all have a healthier, safer, and better functioning city. But I'm not going to recognize all the neighborhoods because there are far too many neighborhood associations and homeowners associations, but I do want to highlight a few, and I'm not going to, you're going to say I forgot some names. There's not enough time. I know y'all got to get back to work. Near South, there's so many people. John Carlson has been involved in Near South almost as long as I've been involved with Everett. You're coming up on it, John. Carmen Maurer, the Braymeyers, Greg McGowan, of course, Lurian and Scott were also involved, are also involved. Clinton, so Lorna's predecessors, Maury Baker, the Reeves, Gloria Edens, South Salt Creek, Gary Irvin, Steve Larrick, Justina Clark, Witherby, Kathy Holland, Fred Freitag, Rick Bagby, and the Malone Holly, Peggy Stewie, Tim Francis, Tim Renna. Woods Park, Randy Smith, Jane Sebi, and Dick Patterson. You may have noted a few of those people are no longer with us, but they are in spirit because they believe in Lincoln neighborhoods. So I just want to end with, it takes a village, it takes all of us. If you're not involved, get involved. And if you've been involved for a while, run for office. Thank you.
All right, we are going to we're going to wrap things up. You know, I opened this up by saying sometimes it feels like swimming upstream in my industry, even when I want to unite a community, keep the positivity and the reasons you love a community at the forefront. I feel like I've been recharged to do that today. So thank you to everyone. Let's give another round of applause to all the winners today. Great. Just again, want to thank the sponsors. Thanks the participants, everybody who was a part of this to make the event so special. I'm so honored that NeighborWorks asked me to be a part of it. I'd love to do what I can again if you'd like me to again, but a great event. That's it here. Go out and engage in your own neighborhoods now. Thanks so much for coming today.
Those of you participating in a tour can meet up here by the stage. A cave tour meets up by the stage.
and boats and water.